The Zephyrian War Council had dismissed Marcus Chen with barely a glance. Their crystalline forms shimmered with disdain as they processed his bio-readings through their advanced scanners. No enhanced strength, no telepathic abilities, no energy manipulation powers. By every metric their civilization valued, the human before them registered as utterly insignificant. "This specimen possesses no measurable combat capabilities," announced High Commander Vextar, his voice resonating through harmonic frequencies that made the chamber walls vibrate. "Neural activity patterns suggest basic intelligence but no psychic potential. Physical parameters are laughably inferior to even our maintenance drones." Marcus stood quietly in the detention field, his hands clasped behind his back. The orange jumpsuit they'd given him after his capture hung loosely on his slight frame. At 53, with graying temples and laugh lines around his eyes, he looked more like a university professor than humanity's last hope, which, coincidentally, he had been before the invasion. The Zephyrians had conquered 18 worlds in the past decade, each time following the same pattern. They would arrive, catalog the dominant species' capabilities, eliminate anyone who posed a threat, and enslave the rest. Their mistake was believing that power could only be measured in kilowatts in combat statistics. "Your world offered no significant resistance," Vextar continued, his forearms gesturing dismissively. "Your warriors fell within hours. Your weapons proved primitive. Your leaders surrendered unconditionally. Yet you—" He leaned forward, studying Marcus with compound eyes that reflected rainbow patterns. "You were the only one they specifically mentioned. They said you were dangerous. Explain this paradox." Marcus smiled softly, the expression never quite reaching his eyes. "May I speak?" The question seemed to amuse several council members. Vexitar's throat sac pulsed with what Marcus had learned was their equivalent of laughter. "Speak, you wish to negotiate? Plead for your miserable existence? By all means, human. Entertain us with your final words." "I'd like to tell you a story," Marcus said, his voice carrying the practiced cadence of someone who had spent decades teaching. "About a species that once believed power meant the ability to destroy, to dominate, to conquer. They measured themselves by their weapons, their technology, their ability to bend others to their will." Vextar's eyes narrowed. "Your point?" "They never learned the most fundamental truth about power." Marcus took a step forward, somehow making the movement seem casual despite the energy restraints around his wrists. "That it's not about what you can break, it's about what you can build." The words settled into the chamber like stones dropped into still water. Several council members shifted uncomfortably, though Marcus doubted they understood why. "Empty philosophy," Vextar scoffed. "Your species will serve our empire, as have all the others. Your power to build means nothing when facing superior force." "You're right about one thing," Marcus agreed, his tone remaining conversational. "My species will serve, but not as slaves." He paused, letting the words hang in the air. "As teachers." That's when Marcus did something the Zephyrians had never encountered in 18 conquests. He began to speak not to their minds, but to something deeper. His voice carried no supernatural power, no psychic enhancement, no technological augmentation. It carried something infinitely more dangerous, genuine conviction backed by absolute truth. "Every species you've conquered still exists," he said, his words somehow reaching every corner of the vast chamber despite speaking at normal volume. "Enslaved, yes. Broken, perhaps, but not destroyed. And in your arrogance, you've done something unprecedented in the galaxy. You've brought them all together." Vextar's throat sac stopped pulsing. Around the chamber, other Zephyrians began to still. Right now, on 17 different worlds, beings who have never met are discovering they share something in common. They've all been conquered by the same enemy. They've all lost their freedom to the same force, and they're all hearing the same message. Marcus's voice grew stronger, not louder, but somehow more present. "Because you see, Commander, you made one critical error in your assessment. You scanned for individual power, strength, speed, psychic ability. You never scanned for the one thing that actually matters." "Which is?" Vextar's voice carried the first note of uncertainty, the ability to inspire. Marcus smiled, and this time it did reach his eyes. "For 30 years I taught history. I specialized in revolutions, in moments when the powerless overcame the powerful. And I learned something your species never has. The strongest force in the universe isn't energy or matter. It's an idea whose time has come. As if on cue, alerts began flashing throughout the chamber. Vextar's subordinates scrambled to their control panels, their harmonic voices rising in panic. Sir, uprising on Kepler 442b. Rebellion in the Vega system. Multiple worlds reporting coordinated resistance. Vextar whirled to face Marcus, his crystalline form blazing with internal light. Impossible. Our control systems are perfect. Our surveillance networks monitor actions, not ideas, Marcus finished quietly. You can chain a body, Commander. You can even chain a mind. But you cannot chain a story that spreads from person to person, world to world, species to species. The alerts multiplied. 17 enslaved worlds operating on carefully coordinated signals had risen simultaneously. The Zephyrian Empire, built on the principle of overwhelming individual power, suddenly faced something they had never prepared for: collective defiance, guided by shared purpose. "What did you do?" Vextar demanded. Marcus straightened, his voice carrying the quiet authority of someone who had spent a lifetime shaping minds. "I taught them the most human thing of all, that sometimes the greatest power is simply refusing to accept that you're powerless." The chamber shuddered as explosions echoed from the ship's lower decks. Through the viewport, Marcus could see escape pods launching toward the planet below, not fleeing but carrying the message further. The invasion had ended not with weapons or technology, but with something far more dangerous: the simple human understanding that true power lies not in what one person can destroy, but in what many people can choose to build together. As the detention field flickered and died, Marcus Chen walked toward the viewport, watching 17 worlds remember what freedom meant. Sometimes the most powerful weapon is just knowing the right words to say,